Hi everyone! Today, I'll walk you through the steps for migrating from an XG to an XGS firewall using the new Backup Restore Assistant. If you have high availability configured, the backup and restore steps are covered in another tech vid. I'll cover the prerequisites for proper migration, including important caveats regarding migration compatibility, requirements for using the Backup Restore Assistant, and the secure storage master key and backup encryption password. Then I'll show you how to prepare a backup, restore your backup to the new device, and lastly, finalize your configuration. Let's get started. Check the compatibility for your desired XG to XGS migration. In general, all real-world scenarios are supported without restrictions on the number of ports. Moreover, when restoring a high-availability backup, there are no restrictions on the number of port conditions when restoring to a running HA cluster. Note: backing up and restoring from a wireless appliance to a non-wireless appliance is supported in SFOS version 20 and later. However, you must remove the wireless networks in the firewall before taking the backup. We've created a compatibility check tool to help you quickly identify if your migration is allowed. Refer to the link in the description for this and other resources. Moving on, the Backup Restore Assistant will only appear if several conditions are met. First, the Assistant is only supported on XGS series firewalls, virtual and cloud appliances. Next, the device you take the backup from must be running SFOS version 19.5 MR4 or later, or version 20 GA or later. And you must restore to an appliance running SFOS version 20 MR2 or later. Note: restoring backups from firewall versions below 19.5 MR4 is allowed on SFOS version 20 MR2 and later. However, the Assistant UI will not be present. If this applies to you, refer to the linked Backup and Restore tech vid in the video description. Before taking the backup, make sure you know the Secure Storage Master Key password, or SSMK. If you haven't previously set this, this is not applicable. If you forgot the SSMK, refer to the linked documentation to reset this. In addition, make sure you know the backup encryption password, which encrypts any generated backup files. We recommend that once you're ready to migrate, update the encryption password and then proceed to take a new backup. With the prerequisites covered, let's begin the backup restore process. In this example, I'm migrating from an XGS 2100 running SFOS version 20 MR2 and restoring to an XGS 136. The process will be exactly the same if you're migrating from a compatible XG device, provided all prerequisites are met. Once again, if you're backing up a firewall version below SFOS version 19.5 MR4, refer to the old backup and restore process. A tech vid showing these steps is linked in the description. To take a backup of the configuration, under System, go to Backup and Firmware. Click Backup now. Once done, download the backup. Now, log into the dashboard of the device you are restoring to, in this case, the XGS 136. Again, make sure the target device is running SFOS version 20 MR2 or later to utilize the Backup Restore Assistant. Otherwise, you'll need to use the previous method of backing up and restoring. We have a dedicated tech vid that covers these steps, and the link is in the description. Go to Backup and Firmware. Under Backup Restore, click Choose File. Locate the backup and click Open. Enter the backup encryption password and click Upload and Restore. Click OK to proceed. Now, enter the Secure Storage Master Key and click Restore. The Backup Restore Assistant will now appear. On the left are the ports of your backup device, on the right are all available ports on the restored device. Hover over any of the port icons to reveal the IP information and link mode. Note: this list only shows the physical interfaces. Any VLANs will migrate automatically. Pre-existing leg interfaces will be recreated on the target as well. In addition, if you have a breakout-capable device, the breakout ports will be shown. In general, ports from the backup device are mapped to an equivalent port by default. If the same port doesn't exist on the target device, the next available port will be used. Now, change the port mapping as required. For example, you can choose to map port 1 to port 2. Or, if you no longer need to use a port, select Don't Map. Any unmapped ports will have a pseudo port created on the restore device to retain the configuration. These can be reconfigured or unbound and removed as required. Take care when mapping any WAN interfaces or ports where routing is configured to avoid potential issues. Once you finish mapping, click Restore. And once complete, the device will reboot. Now that the device is up and running again, you'll notice that the hostname has changed. Navigate to Network to finalize your configuration. VLANs, legs, and bridges are now visible. As mentioned before, unmapped ports are recreated as pseudo ports. These are easy to identify. Each one starts with sudo instead of port, and the status is Not Available. We recommend not using or creating configurations based on pseudo ports, since traffic or routing will be impacted if they're used. Unbinding and removing them is easy. Start by removing pseudo ports from any related configurations. Remove any other unused interfaces, such as this VLAN. And make sure to unbind any other pseudo ports. With all the pseudo ports unbound, the last step is to reboot the device one more time to completely remove them. And with that, your migration is now complete. I hope you found this useful. Check out the documentation for this tech vid in the description. For further assistance, view and post questions on community.sophos.com and go to techvids.sophos.com for more great videos like this one. Thanks for watching!